It was a cold Tuesday morning in late November when Marcus drove down the old industrial road on his way to work. The abandoned warehouses cast long shadows across the cracked pavement, and most people avoided this route. But Marcus liked the quiet, the way the morning mist settled between the buildings like a secret. That's when he saw her. At first, he thought it was just a pile of rags near the dumpster behind the old textile factory. But then the pile moved. Marcus slowed his truck, squinting through the windshield. His heart sank when he realized what he was looking at. A dog, thin and trembling, curled around something small and precious. Marcus pulled over immediately, his hands shaking slightly as he turned off the ignition. He'd always had a soft spot for animals, but something about this scene made his chest tighten with emotion. He grabbed the old blanket he kept in his truck and approached slowly, speaking in soft, gentle tones. "Hey there, girl, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The dog lifted her head, and Marcus felt his throat constrict. She was a mixed breed, probably had some Labrador in her, with matted golden fur and eyes that held both fear and desperate hope. But what broke his heart were the 4 tiny puppies nursing beneath her, no more than a few weeks old. They were so small, their eyes barely open, completely vulnerable to the cold November air. The mother dog didn't growl or bark. Instead, she simply watched him with exhausted eyes, as if she'd been waiting for anyone to finally see her. Her ribs were visible through her thin coat, and Marcus could see she'd been out here for days, maybe weeks, sacrificing everything to keep her babies alive. "Oh, sweetheart," Marcus whispered, his voice cracking. "How long have you been out here?" He noticed an old cardboard box nearby, torn and soggy from rain. Someone had left her here, abandoned with her puppies, probably hoping she'd just disappear. The thought made Marcus's jaw clench with anger, but he pushed the emotion aside. Right now, this mama dog and her babies needed help, not his rage. Marcus sat down on the cold pavement about 6 feet away from the mama dog, the blanket draped over his lap. He knew better than to rush. Trust had to be earned, especially with a mother protecting her young. "I have some food in my truck," he said softly, maintaining his gentle tone. "Would you like that? You must be so hungry." He slowly stood and retrieved his lunch from the truck, a turkey sandwich and a bag of chips. It wasn't dog food, but it was something. He tore the sandwich into small pieces and tossed one gently toward the dog, keeping his movements slow and predictable. The mama dog's nose twitched. She looked at the food, then at Marcus, then back at her puppies. The internal struggle was visible on her face, the desperate need for food versus the instinct to protect her babies from a stranger. Hunger won. She carefully extracted herself from her puppies, who squeaked in protest at the loss of her warmth, and took a tentative step toward the food. She grabbed it quickly and retreated, swallowing it almost without chewing. Marcus tossed another piece, this time a little closer to him. Piece by piece, he drew her nearer, until she was eating from his hand, her tail giving the smallest, most hesitant wag. "That's it, good girl," Marcus murmured, his eyes stinging with tears he didn't bother to hide. "You're such a good mama. You've been so strong, haven't you?" While she ate, Marcus carefully observed the puppies. They were cold, shivering in their makeshift shelter. One of them, the smallest, seemed particularly weak, barely moving. Time was running out. Marcus called his boss and explained he'd be late. He didn't care about the consequences. These animals needed him now. Then he called the local animal rescue, but they couldn't send anyone for several hours. The puppies didn't have several hours. "Okay, girl, here's what we're going to do," Marcus said, as if the dog could understand every word. "I'm going to help you, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" He slowly reached for the puppies, his heart pounding. The mama dog tensed, a low whine escaping her throat. Marcus froze. I know, they're your babies. But sweetheart, they're so cold. Feel this blanket, it's warm, and my truck is warm. I'm going to take them somewhere safe, somewhere with food and shelter. And you're coming too. I promise." Maybe it was his tone, or maybe it was the exhaustion that made resistance impossible. But the mama dog didn't stop him when he carefully picked up the first puppy, wrapping it in the blanket. The tiny thing fit in the palm of his hand, its heartbeat rapid against his skin. He placed it gently in a box he'd retrieved from his truck, lined with his work jacket. One by one, he transferred all 4 puppies. The smallest one, the one he'd been worried about, was ice cold and barely responsive. Marcus's hands shook as he tucked it close to its siblings, hoping their combined body heat would help. Then came the moment of truth, the mama dog. Would she follow her puppies, or would her fear keep her trapped in this terrible place? Marcus carried the box of puppies to his truck and placed it carefully on the passenger seat, leaving the door open. He turned back to the mama dog who stood frozen in place, her entire body trembling. "Come on, sweet girl, your babies need you, and you need help, please." He knelt down and held out his hand. The mama dog took one tentative step forward, then another. She walked to Marcus, and in a moment that would stay with him forever, pressed her head against his chest. She was choosing to trust him, to believe that this stranger might be her salvation. Marcus wrapped his arms around her gently and lifted. She was so light, nothing but bones and fur and a mother's love. He carried her to the truck and set her on the seat next to her puppies. Immediately, she began licking them, checking each one, her tail now wagging with more conviction. Marcus drove straight to the emergency veterinary clinic, his mind racing through everything that needed to happen. The mama dog sat quietly beside him, occasionally looking up at him with those soulful eyes as if she couldn't quite believe this was real. "You're going to be okay now," Marcus told her, one hand on the wheel, occasionally reaching over to stroke her head. "All of you, I've got you." At a red light, he took a moment to really look at her. Despite everything she'd been through, despite the neglect and abandonment, there was something beautiful in her spirit. She'd never given up on her puppies. She'd stayed with them through the cold nights, the hunger, the fear. That kind of love deserved to be honored, protected, celebrated. "You need a name," Marcus said suddenly. "How about hope, because that's what you are. Hope for them, hope for yourself. Hope that there's still good in this world." The dog, Hope, tilted her head at the sound of her new name, and Marcus could have sworn she smiled. At the clinic, the veterinary staff rushed out when they saw the situation. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead vet, immediately took charge, her experienced eyes assessing the situation in seconds. "How long have they been out there?" she asked, already carrying the puppies inside. "I don't know, days, maybe longer," Marcus replied, helping Hope down from the truck. She stayed close to him now, her protector, her savior. The next hour was a blur of activity. Hope was examined first. She was severely malnourished, dehydrated, and suffering from a skin infection. But Dr. Chen smiled as she listened to Hope's heart. "She's a fighter," the vet said. "Her body is weak, but her spirit, that's strong. She's going to make it." The puppies were examined next. 3 of them, while cold and underweight, showed good vital signs. They latched onto bottles of puppy formula with enthusiasm, their tiny tails wagging. But the smallest one, a little female with a white patch over her eye, was in critical condition. Her body temperature was dangerously low, and she wasn't responding well. Dr. Chen worked quickly, placing the tiny puppy in an incubator, setting up a feeding tube, administering medication. Marcus stood by Hope, his hand on her head, both of them watching through the window as the medical team fought to save the smallest life. "Come on, little one," Marcus whispered. "Your mama fought so hard for you. You can fight too." Hours passed. Marcus called into work to say he wouldn't be coming in at all. His boss, surprisingly, was understanding. Some things were more important than deadlines and deliveries. Finally, as afternoon light filtered through the clinic windows, Dr. Chen emerged with a tired but genuine smile. "She's stable," the vet announced. "It was close, but she's going to make it. They're all going to make it." Marcus felt something break open in his chest, relief and joy flooding through him so powerfully that he had to sit down. Hope, sensing his emotion, placed her paw on his knee and whined softly, as if comforting him. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Marcus sat in the clinic's waiting room with Hope resting her head on his lap. The puppies were sleeping peacefully in their warm incubator, their bellies full, their futures no longer uncertain. Dr. Chen sat down beside him, 2 cups of coffee in hand. "So," she said, handing him a cup, "what's the plan? The rescue organization can take them once they're stronger. We have a good foster network." Marcus looked down at Hope, at this incredible dog who had suffered so much but still found it in her heart to trust again. He thought about driving away, leaving them in someone else's care. He tried to imagine his life going back to normal as if this day had never happened. He couldn't do it. "I'm keeping her," Marcus said, the words feeling right the moment they left his mouth. "Hope, I'm keeping Hope. And I'll foster the puppies until they're ready for adoption, if that's okay." Dr. Chen's smile widened. "I had a feeling you'd say that. You know, in all my years as a vet, I've learned that sometimes it's not us who rescue animals. Sometimes they rescue us." Marcus nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. This morning, he'd been driving the same route he always drove, living the same life he always lived. Comfortable, but maybe a little empty, a little lonely. And now, looking at Hope, feeling the weight of her trust and her gratitude, he realized his life had just changed completely. 3 weeks later, Marcus's small house was chaos incarnate. The puppies, now healthy and growing impossibly fast, tumbled over each other in their playpen. Hope, fully recovered and with a shiny coat, watched over them with the vigilance of a devoted mother, though she'd also learned to relax, to play, to accept love. The smallest puppy, the one who'd come so close to not making it, was now the feistiest of the bunch. Marcus had named her Miracle, and she lived up to it every day. As Marcus sat on his couch, Hope curled up beside him and Miracle sleeping on his chest, he thought about that cold November morning. He thought about how easily he could have driven past, how close he'd come to missing this. "You saved me too, you know," he whispered to Hope, scratching behind her ears. "I didn't know how much I needed this, needed you." Hope's tail thumped against the couch and she licked his hand. In a world that could be cold and cruel, where people abandoned innocent animals without a second thought, there was also this, the choice to stop, to help, to love. Marcus had made that choice and it had changed everything. 4 puppies would grow up safe and loved, eventually finding forever homes with families who would cherish them. And Hope, the mama dog who had fought so hard, who had never given up, would spend the rest of her days knowing she was valued, protected, and deeply, deeply loved. Some rescues break your heart, but some, like this one, break your heart open, making room for more love than you ever thought possible.